Hi, I'm Skinny Cheeks. We are now at the end of the PTS cycle for update 46, and I thought I'd take a bit to go over the current state of the patch and discuss how it looks for both the immediate and long-term future. And for those curious about my setup here, stick around to the end and I'll go over it. I've been pretty critical about subclassing, and you can say what you will about that, but I think this is the time to be critical. That's what the PTS is for. Giving feedback during this period is the best chance for changes to occur. And while the scope of changes many of us are hoping for is a bit too large to be there by the update 46 launch, I am hopeful that as time goes on, this will be improved upon. So as I've been posting feedback, I've gotten a number of comments that are similar to this one here. He says, "You're wrong. As a tank, this is awesome. I don't know what you're talking about, and clearly you don't know anything about tanking." Or this one here, "I saw a tank with over 100k shield. They're fine." And comments like these completely miss the point of what I've been trying to say. I've never argued against that part. Of course, it's awesome from a power gain perspective. Player power for various roles will go up greatly. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you want to play your base class and you like the theme and skills in those lines, you are severely outpaced by the new subclassing options. Or if you like the themes of certain lines really well, and maybe they have a cool skill for your role, but no other supporting passives or skills for that role, well then you end up with a dead skill line and some skills in it that you might enjoy that will no longer be used. So that's what I think we need to do better with. Of course, it's great from a power perspective. Everyone's going up if you want to utilize the best options without care for the thematic representation of those skills. And this is really the core of my argument against the current balancing of the new system. Yes, player power is going up a lot, and you know what? I'll be honest, I'm going to really enjoy that when update 46 launches. I'm absolutely going to take advantage of strong combinations and probably have a lot of fun doing it. I've been a bit hesitant to state my excitement for the short term because I am worried about the long term. And I'm scared if we don't make a fuss about all this right now, that it's not going to get better. But yes, in the short term, this is going to be awesome. There are some really strong combinations, and no matter your role, you can put builds together to help you do your job better. But how much better could it be if more options were also enticing to use? I'm just worried this is going to be terrible for the long-term health of combat if things don't change in the near future. What's the point of having fun skills spread out across different lines or fun thematic themes to lines that ZOS pushes as play how you want when these skill lines are so heavy into a specific role that other roles will not even consider them? So lots of people have been saying this is the end of ESO, and you know what? People have been saying that for years. I actually think we'll probably see a little bit of a spike with this new patch. It's going to be a lot of fun, but many of us have taken a lot of time to dig into this on the PTS and can see those glaring flaws. And if the balancing is not taken to a better spot in the coming months with some kind of incentive given to play our base classes or utilize a wider variety of skill lines, these flaws are going to start being apparent to your average player as well. And I do think this will make for a much worse game overall in the long term. So I hope they can stick with it because this system has the potential to be really great, but it just isn't there yet. Now, before we end the video, I did want to take a minute to talk about one of my favorite subclassing setups. Right now, I'm calling it the Blight Storm. This is Gravelord, Storm Calling, and Assassination. And this one is a monster for AoE damage. Doesn't really matter which base class you choose. I'll get into that more later. But depending on your preferences for setups outside of this build, that could affect which one you go with here. First, I'll just say Combat Metrics is currently bugged and not tracking casts of contingency. So that's why you don't see any casts there. So you can ignore the weaving. Every time I'm casting it, it just treats it like I'm doing nothing, so the tracking gets a bit funky. But let's go over the gear. So I'm running Azurblight, Storm Cursed, the Maelstrom Lightning Staff, and a one-piece monster set with crit chance. So Azurblight is still insanely good, but it does now get worse and worse the more people that wear it as of update 46. So if someone else in your group already has called dibs on this, you can swap this out for Onsul or Sulksan's Torment. Both will work really good with this setup too. For Storm Cursed, this was already a solid set for AoE, but subclassing helps it to gain a bit more power since we have more shock damage combos. You could also run this as an always active instead of a front bar set. That would mean 3 light body pieces. It does proc a fair bit more that way, but I found the 2 extra medium pieces to contribute slightly more to the damage overall since we are already good on penetration. All right, let's run through the skills. First, we have Banner Bearer. We're going with Shock for the focus since we deal a ton of direct damage. It is possible I would have got more damage with the Shattering focus. We do a ton of AoE in this setup too. The only thing with that is if you did want to continue to use this banner for single target fights in whatever content you're running, it wouldn't be as ideal, whereas the direct one kind of works really well for both setups. But I think Shattering actually might be a little better here for this pure AoE parse. For the signature script, I got the best results with Cavalier's Charge. This one doesn't add in a ton of damage, but it did seem to do a little bit better than the Necromancer class mastery. I think that's because the Necro one adds max resources, which don't affect proc damage at all. Then for the affix, I went with Major Sorcery and Brutality. Really, this is up to you. You could choose something else if you already have this reliably from someone casting igneous weapons in your group. Then we have Blighted Blastbones. This is really good AoE damage and helps with our Magicka sustain since we cast it every third skill. Then we have Mystic Siphon. This is a free skill and it does decent damage, but it adds a lot of sustain, and it is our best trigger for the Storm Curse set since it ticks so rapidly. Next, we have Shocking Contingency. This is our AoE spammable. For the affix, I put the Intellect and Endurance for that extra sustain, but really this can be whatever you need here. If you plan to use this skill on a setup not paired with Velothi, you could put Minor Force on here as well to make sure you always have that going. Originally, I wanted to do the Sorcerer class mastery on here for the signature, but unfortunately, Blastbones cancels out that shock damage from it since it counts as a pet. If you did want to do a different version of this build that did not use Necro skills, I would definitely recommend going as a Sorcerer as your base class and taking that class mastery here. Next up, we have Liquid Lightning. The Lightning Flood morph is a little bit better for short burst and probably the one I'd normally go with, as most encounters for AoE like this won't last as long as these trial dummies do. They just added in the ability to take your own synergy with this, so those two elements together plus the extra Storm Cursed procs make this an awesome skill to run. And then for the ultimate, we have Incap. This normally wouldn't be cast in AoE short burst, but it is nice to have here to unlock the extra assassination passives. Moving on to the back bar, we have Banner again, since that does need to be double barred. Then Blockade of Lightning will be great for Storm Cursed and deal a lot of damage on its own with the Maelstrom Staff. Then Boundless Storm, this is a nice long 30-second dot that will also trigger Storm Cursed, and it gives you a nice defensive boost. However, it only ticks every 2 seconds, so it isn't adding a ton of procs for Storm Cursed. So if you want to swap to the Hurricane morph, since that one's a little better in single target setups, that would work too. And then we have Shocking Burst. I put the Minor Expedition affix on this, which adds in some damage for the banner signature we're using, but really that could be whatever you might need for your scenario. And then we have Relentless Focus. This is here for the Nightblade passives to be active on the back bar, and also when it is at 10 stacks, you get 400 extra weapon and spell damage. Pretty crazy strong for just a passive skill. Then for the ultimate, we have Thunderous Rage. This thing hits like a truck and also adds in a bunch of Storm Curse damage. So overall, this setup is really fun for AoE damage, and the sustain is really good. For shorter fights, you can definitely sustain just your standard buy-stat food with no recovery. For the dummy, since it was over 2 minutes, I had to use Ghastly Eyeball, but most AoE stuff would not last for that long. I also did a version of this with 6 targets just for fun, and it was well over 1 million DPS. Absolutely crazy, but both Azure Blight and Storm Curse get better and better the more targets you have. So we know the AoE is really good. The single target damage for this setup is okay. It's good enough for most stuff, but I'd probably swap setups to something like this if I'm really focusing and wanting to min-max my single target damage while keeping all of the same morphs and skill lines, so no respecking mid-run would be required. It isn't ideal, as Mystic Siphon is worse without Storm Cursed than Detonating Siphon, but still this does really good single target damage overall at 150k, and it would push even higher if you wanted to use Highland Sentinel instead of the new Tideborn set here. So yeah, I just wanted to share this fun subclassing combo I was testing on the PTS. If y'all are interested, I can definitely do a proper build video and website page for it, as well as other subclassing combos. Just let me know down in the comments below. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Are y'all excited for subclassing? Do you think my worries are overblown? Let me know what y'all think about subclassing so far. Big shout out to my Patreon and YouTube members. Really appreciate the support. And a special thanks to these folks here. I couldn't keep doing this without you. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.